The Edmonton Oilers season has been an absolute roller coaster. They got off to a roaring 15-5-0 start in the playoffs. Looked like a slam dunk. And then they completely fell apart in December and January. And suddenly it looked like the playoffs might not happen at all here in Edmonton. But then Jay Woodcroft took over and the Oilers quickly turned things around under their new bench boss. And suddenly it looks like there's a pretty good chance the playoffs are happening once again this spring at Rogers Place. But it brings up the question, just how much better did Jay Woodcroft make the Edmonton Oilers? To answer this question, I decided to look into some of the underlying numbers around the Oilers and sort of the three different stretches of their season. I started with the first 20 games when they went 15-5-0. That was the best points percentage in the NHL during that stretch. When they fell apart, their record plummeted to 8-13-3, 26th in the NHL with a .396 points percentage in that span. Since Jay Woodcroft took over, 17-7-2, 692 points percentage under Woodcroft. That is 5th in the NHL in that span. Some of the deeper numbers here, well, let's go back to those first 20 games and look at how the Oilers were winning. Their shots for percentage at 5-on-5, all these numbers courtesy of Natural Stat Trick, by the way, it was 48.3%. That's 19th in the NHL. Goals for per 60 at 5-on-5, 2.66. That's top 10 in the league at 7th. That's a pretty good mark. Goals against per 60 at 5-on-5 was terrible, though. It was all the way down at 28th in the NHL at 2.85. Their PDO was 19th, right around league average. Nothing to see there. Their power play, though, was unbelievable. 35.9%. That was easily the best power play in the NHL at the time. Their penalty kill was even top 5. Top 3, sitting 3rd in the league at 87.7%. It was clear at the time. They were winning games based on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl producing an insane amount of points and their special teams being able to bail them out in certain situations. That all changed in December, and the rest of the Dave Tippett era was not very good. Their shots for at 5-on-5 actually went up to 10th in the NHL, but their goals for per 60 dropped all the way to 23rd in the league. Their goals against per 60 stayed in the bottom third of the NHL. Their PDO dropped down to 29th in the league, which maybe tells you they were a little bit unlucky, but they also weren't getting bailed out by their special teams anymore. Their power play dropped almost 20%. It went down to 23rd in the NHL at 17.7%. Their PK went all the way down to 67.2%, a drop of 20.5%. In that time span, it was 31st in the NHL. It was terrible. It was clear the Oilers needed a change, and then Jay Woodcroft came in, and look how much better these numbers got. Shots for percentage at 5-on-5, top 10 in the league since Woodcroft took over at 53.01. They are consistently outshooting the opposition at 5-on-5. Goals for per 60 at 5-on-5, 3.32. That's 3rd in the NHL, better than it ever was this year under Dave Tippett. Goals against per 60, that's even found a way to crawl out of the bottom third of the NHL, which it never did under Tippett. It is up to 2.59. That's 17th in the league. Their PDO, yes, has gotten up to 10th in the NHL. Maybe that's a little bit concerning, but their special teams has also gotten a lot better under Woodcroft. Since Woodcroft took over, they're 11th in power play percentage at 24.1%. Their PK, 16th in the NHL at 78.2%. Both those numbers really trending upwards in the last 2 weeks specifically, which gives me hope that what Jay Woodcroft and Dave Manson and their staff are preaching, the team is responding to. And now the big question is just how much has goaltending affected this as well? And the answer is the goaltending hasn't really been spectacular. Using these same 3 benchmarks of times during the season, in the first 20 games of the year, the Oilers' goaltending was 10th in the league, stopping 91.32% of the shots they faced. Under Dave Tippett for the rest of the year, from December on, they dropped to 29th in the NHL, 88.18% of the shots they faced. Since Jay Woodcroft took over, they're up to 13th in the league at 90.33%. So the goaltending has gotten better, but it's not like Jay Woodcroft is getting spectacular goaltending from either Mikko or Mike Smith. But the team is much better at 5-on-5, and I like to believe that is a direct result of the coaching from Jay Woodcroft. And when you look at the numbers, I see no reason to believe that this Oilers team can't continue to be a top 10 5-on-5 team, and their power play is certainly capable of being top 5 in the league. On the season now, their power play is 3rd at 26.2%. When you look at the rest of the numbers on the season, they're almost top 10 in shots for percentage at 5-on-5. They are top 10 in goals for per 60 at 5-on-5. But the big thing with the Oilers and what could ultimately hold them back from going on a long playoff run, it's the goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. It's still 21st in the NHL. A big part of that is because of the goaltending that the Oilers are getting, but they also still bleed a lot of chances at 5-on-5, and that is something that's got to change. But there is no denying the Edmonton Oilers are a much better team since Jay Woodcroft took over, and I don't think it's any sort of coincidence.